Tune in to UFO Undercover, Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern, with your host, Joe Montaldo, right here on the Paranormal Radio Network.
Welcome to the Outer Realm with Michelle DeRoche and Amelia Pisano. Airing live on the United Public Radio Network, 105.3 FM in New Orleans.
See what happens whenever you are like a very important person or something like that. There I am. Look at that here. Moses. Look at me. I am Moses. Yes. Hey Heidi. Thank you for much love here from Pittsburgh. Brian, good to see you. Sebastian, it's so great to see you guys. I'm so happy. Really looking forward to tonight. Couple announcements I need to make. I want to thank UPRN Talk Radio, 105.3 Mississippi, 107.7 New Orleans, for allowing me to give you an hour on Sunday nights at 8:10 to 9:10 p.m. and tonight on Tuesday nights, 8:10 to 9:10 p.m. And my dear friend CL, she's got her podcast coming on right after mine, okay? And her podcast, like everybody knows her podcast because she comes after mine, you know. I mean, she is a good one. And her tonight's guest is Todd Bates, okay? And they're going to be talking about EVP explorations. Sounds like a pretty interesting show she's going to have. But what I want to do, hey, Joe Fox, good to see you, buddy. It's still damn hot. It is in the 90s still. There you go. Yes, Todd. Thank you, Heidi, for doing that. Appreciate that. But I got a surprise for you, Heidi, at the first break. So, you know, hang around. I want to get to this as soon as possible. Hey, Kurt, good to see you. So, I hope everyone is doing good since Sunday. I hope everyone's staying cool. I hope everyone, you know, saw some fairies or fays or whatever you want to call them, whatever makes you feel comfortable. Hey, Donna, good to see you. Good to see you, honey. I know you're there always, Heidi, but it's good to see Donna here. That's great. I'm smiling. My heart is just thumping out like, oh, wow, look at all these beautiful women and all these beautiful guys in my room. I mean, my gosh, goosebumps and heart palpitations and stuff like that. Whew. Plus the heat, 90 degrees. What more can a man want? So we all know that Sunday I did my show was on the Salem witch trials. Okay, and we talked about um, some of the things that occurred in order for the trials to start. And basically, there was two young girls um, who were sick, doing contortions and all kinds of other stuff. And the doctor back at the time really didn't have a clue on what was going on with them. So automatically, he said they were bewitched. Well, that got the ball rolling. Okay. So, of course, when you hear somebody saying bewitched, you know, the whole time of Salem was going crazy, going nuts, a lot of hysteria. And it got to the point that a lot of people in the village wanted answers. So, long story short, um, these girls started to go around and accusing women and guys of witchcraft. Hey, Laurel. Hello, I rescued a beautiful great horned owl last night. My spirit guide came to stay in my cabin, now relaxing, listening to you and your show. Well, thank you for sharing that, Laurel, and thank you for listening to the show and stopping by. But so these two girls, you know, started accusing people of witchcraft, and so the trials began. Okay, now at the time, Salem had a bunch of, you know, it was mainly Puritans. And if anybody knows about the Puritans, now I'm not judging anybody's religion, I don't do that, but you know, they were hardcore, strict Protestants. And I mean, if you didn't go by the rules, you know, all hell broke loose for you. But so that's what happened. So during these witch trials, okay, um, 20 people were killed, were murdered. 19 of them were hung, and one died of stone pressing. And what I mean by stone pressing, they laid him on a table or concrete, whatever, and they just started to throw stones on top of him. And the reason why they did that because um, he would not come out and say that he was a witch. So what they were trying to do to him was make him hurt and beg to tell them that he was, but he just wouldn't do it. And if I do remember the quote, he said, "Throw another stone on me" or something like that. And it was crazy. And there was a lot of hysteria going on back then. People wanted answers. And they went to the trials, and no one was there to defend them. Okay. There was a thing at the time where it was spectral evidence, which means if someone saw a vision or they dreamed, then they were already presumed guilty. So they went through pure hell back then, you know. And then come to find out, the reason why that these girls were going through this contortions. Let me go back to my notes here real quick. Okay, it was a well, what was it called? It was a fungus, ergot. Okay, and it was found in the rye and the wheat, which toxicologists say that it can actually cause delusions, vomiting, and muscle spasms. Yes. So, you know, who knows? More than likely, that's what they were doing. But no one will ever know unless we get into a time machine and go back to 1692, you know, and see, you know, what actually happened back there. And everyone went through a lot of pain and grief, you know, and it just wasn't Salem. There was other towns that these young girls, ages 14 to 15, were accusing everybody about witchcraft, that they were witches. And it was like, I guess once you were accused, you had no, I mean, you had no rights. Hey, cryptids and general tidbits. Tonight's topic is right in my home state. Awesome. Massachusetts. Cool. You anywhere near Salem? But they're, and they just, it was just tragic. Um, and I kept doing the studying and I kept doing the research on it. Okay. And the more I read into it, 30 minutes away. Okay. Thank you, Jessica. Thank you, Heidi, for telling me her name is Jessica. I appreciate that. Um, but what they went through, how ignorant, you know, I'm going to say them, the Puritans were, the judges, the magistrates, the people, how they treated these people. Hey, Cindy Mitch, good to see you, hon. And I don't know how they could have gone through that. But it's really crazy. What we did was we talked about, the situations that occurred that made the girls, everybody just accusing these witches. We are more focused on them, but they have to be. It's the main point. But we never realized what about their families? What did their families go through? I bet pure hell. I bet you they done everything they could to try to prove their innocence, or there was nothing they could do, and they just watched their loved ones die. So if like I told you Sunday, that I have a lot of friends who are witches, okay, and I'm telling you what, they're the nicest people in the world. They would give the shirt off their back. They're not bad people. Jessica says so much mass hysteria and everyone got caught up into it, too afraid to say anything against them. They would get accused alongside. True. Jessica got it right. Um, but what did the families go through? I just can't imagine. Someone coming up and calling my brother, a witch or a warlock and saying, oh, wow, he's a warlock. So, and then they hung him. And I'd be so pissed. But I felt for these people. I felt for the people. Even if some of them were witches, so be it. Brian says, Kevin says, I also thought we were all witches in here, Sean. Oh, we are, no doubt. We are all witches, I guess. Yes, and that's okay. But I'm not here to judge anybody about it or not. Hey, that girl, good to see you, hon. But they're good people. And like Heidi says here, intentions are huge. Respect for Mother Earth, working with the ancient techniques are my kind of people. Yes, they are. And a lot of the witches were healers. People would go to them to get healed because the doctors back at the time didn't have any idea what was going on with them. If I'm not mistaken, they were called kitchen witches. I'm not sure. Maybe you guys can help me out with that. I'm not sure. But there's like 4 or 5 different types of witches out there, you know. And if you do belong to a coven, and if you are a witch, I would be proud of that if you call yourself that. The hell with what other people have to say about it. As long as you are feeling good and your life is okay, then continue doing what you're doing. Okay? That's why I look at it, you know. But I do believe that, like I told you the other day, that I was a witch and I was hung. And the reason why I believe that is because I can't wear nothing around my neck. I can't wear no jewelry. I can't wear no chains around my wrist. I can't even wear a watch. But I have my cell phone, so that tells me the time. And I had two past life readings, so and they all said the same thing. So be proud of you being a witch. You know. Hey, Michelle, good to see you. But now tonight's show is the aftermath of the Salem witch trials. Heidi says cosmic, hedge, elemental, and sea witches, sea hags. I don't believe no one's a hag, you know. I guess that's what happens when people start telling stories around the campfire, or back then, how this witch wears a hat and rides on a broomstick. And look it up, guys. Look it up. They'll tell you the whole deal about it. It comes from paganism. You know, I did a little reading on it before I started the show tonight, but I really didn't have a lot of time to write things down. But look it up, Google it, Wiki it, and it will tell you all about the witch's broom and the hat and their familiars, which are usually black cats. But Heidi taught me something the other night. Familiars are animals that protect them. Hey, Tony Sabellis, good to see you, sir. It's been a long time, my friend. But Heidi says, I don't do labels, but been known for being a witch. I have many beliefs similar. And that's okay not to have labels. There are people who like to have labels, you know. I mean, and you know what, Heidi, that's okay. It's okay. It's nice to go out in the world or be in this world today, finding something. Hey, CL, good to see you. Everybody in the chat. There's my dear CL Thomas. Her show's coming on next, right after mine, on this very channel. And Todd Bates is going to be her guest tonight. We're going to talk about EVPs, which I think is so cool. And also, I need to tell you that every other Sunday, CL, she co-hosts with me on my Sunday night show. So every other Sunday, if you want to, come on over and watch CL and I co-host the show together. But I don't know. Just be happy with who you are and do what you need to do for you. If it makes you feel good, if it helps you get through life, then go for it. Like they taught me in AA, find a loving and caring God as I understand him. Well, it doesn't go for everybody. Find a loving and caring goddess. And I wanted to talk about that last night on Lori's Angel Rock. CL says the witch trial victims are not real witches. They were victims of church gossip and land disputes. Yes, it's true. Like the guy who got crushed, he didn't confess because he would have lost his property. He wanted his wife to have it. His prosecutors wouldn't have taken it. And CL got that right, you know. And I'm glad you're here, honey, for saying that. Because I got all kinds of stuff going written down here. But CL is basically right. They weren't, you know, they weren't. Heidi says fear-based bullshit. Agree, CL. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. But when we're talking about goddesses, I'm only going to bring it up for a couple minutes, but whenever I would go out to banish a ghost or a demon or something like that, I would have my angels with me who are real, and have my animal totem, my animal spirit guide, Lakota, who's a wolf. And I also, every now and then, if it got a little too deep, I would bring in Morgana Le Fay. And I'm not going to really get into a lot of her. I know some people in the chat room tonight know about her. Hey, Sherry Madigan, good to see you. I'm doing great. Just trying to deal with the weather, hon. Dealing with the weather. It's a little bit hot. But yeah, Morgana LaFay, uh, she comes with me and she helps. And it's just like everybody works in unison, if you want to say it like that. But does anybody out there have any questions, or if there's anything that they would like to, around this topic? Feel free to put it in the chat. I'll put it up, and then we can discuss it if you wish. But I do believe that 1692 in Salem, Massachusetts was bad. And it was terrible. And it is sad. But I guess things, came from that. And I was looking at some of the stuff, and I am going to tell you after the break, okay, what I learned and what I looked up, which I think is like really cool, what happened. But my thing to you would be who you want to be. Don't ever let anybody tell you different. Accept the things that you want to do. It will help you as long as you believe in it. That girl, you putting on the coffee for everybody. Just thought I'd throw that out there. I want my 4 shots of espresso with 2% milk and a lot of ice. I can go for that. But I don't know. But you know what? I'm going to take the break pretty soon, like really shortly, because I have a surprise here for Heidi. Okay. She's been wanting it for a long time, and I don't think no one ever. Hey, Marketti, good to see you, buddy. And really look at what Heidi has to say. She says, be authentic, be real, be you, definitely. And all of a sudden, ladies and gentlemen, I got a ringing in my right ear, and it's really, really loud, and I don't know why. So if anybody could tell me what the ringing in my right ear is all about, I hear all kinds of different things about theories about it, but I trust my people here in my chat room here. So yeah, the ringing is really, really loud right here in my right ear. But you know what? We're going to go to the break. Heidi, stick around. This one's for you, honey. I'll see you in 2 minutes. Where are we at? Here's for you, Heidi.
I had enough.
Well, you drove out there into the middle of nowhere and had some sort of loud verbal display challenging ET in general out in the middle of nowhere?
That's what I was doing. I actually had a pistol in my hand at the time. I was really ticked off. When I was having this fit, I was waving the gun in the air, okay, and I had this fit. And at this moment, I said, okay.
He was a Louisiana man named Montaldo. Folks around called him Six Gun Joe. Worked with ICAR, don't you know? Investigating UFOs. Out for a drive with a gal one night, they stopped to check out the reporting site. When an alien lit right there on the ground, he commenced to throwing his weight around. Now, old Six Gun didn't take too kindly to that kind of thing, especially without Vaseline or anything like that, Seriously. Well, Six Gun looked that critter right in the eye and said, any last wish before you die? Yo, reached for his gun, quick as a twitch, and said, fill your claw, you son of a bitch. Now a legend spread across the land about this pistol-waving man. But if you're from space or from Earth below, you don't give no lip to Six Gun Joe.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Into the Night with me, your host, Sean Kelly. I want to thank UPRN Talk Radio, 105.3 Mississippi, 107.7 New Orleans. And Heidi, I hope you enjoyed that because I've seen you in different chats and on the chat and wanting us to play that song. And you know what? Oh my God, it was so good. And I thought about you, and I saw you pop on right before I started the show, and I just didn't quite get into putting it on at the beginning. So I said, I'm going to surprise her, and I'm going to play the song for her at the first break. But also, CL, she goes, she has her podcast right after mine, and her guest tonight is Todd Bates, and her podcast is the Gateway Podcast, and she's on right after me. CL says, see what the spirit wants, Sean, and I wish they could. Could be a parallel chat. Thank you, Kevin, on that. Kurt says, who are you if you're living in everyone else's eyes? If you do not want to make you happy and don't let others influence what you enjoy, you will find what life has in store for you and what you are seeking. That is the truth there, buddy. Thank you for sharing that. I know it's your favorite song. That's cool. I'm glad everybody loved it. I think Joe's watching the show. I do believe so. He's going to hear all this good stuff about it. Kurt says, I can't. I hear Joe play this one time and was talking about it for seemed like hours. I'm sure he did, buddy. I'm sure he did. That's okay. He's a good dude. Okay. So back to the second part of the show. Okay. So today is the aftermath. And in the first half of my show tonight, I talked about what happened during the witch trials. Okay. And so this is the aftermath of it. And I got my notes here. I got my notes and I did a lot of writing. And one of these days, I'm going to take a picture of it and send it to you people and put it up. And I mean, I can't even read my own writing. So here we go. There was a lot of significant legal and emotional repercussions. Okay. The trials ended in 1693. It took centuries for the community to heal with apologies, exonerations, and memorials acknowledging the injustice to those people. Okay. It became a powerful cautionary tale about the dangers of mass hysteria, prejudice, and the abuse of powers. Isn't that crazy? After all that, people finally realized what happened, and I kind of smiled when I was writing this stuff down, right? Hey, River, good to see you, buddy. Thank you. But they finally realized and they opened up their eyes, all this bullshit that they did to these people. Seriously, a bunch of bullshit. But they're finally realizing, the state of Massachusetts is finally realizing it. And believe it or not, there are some things from the trials of Salem that, kind of helped forge some of the judiciary system here. Okay, so the legal and governmental actions that were taken. There's a lot of shit that was taken after these witch trials, man. Massachusetts issued formal apologies and pardons to the victims. The last pardon was in 2001. Compensation. Now, check this out, ladies and gentlemen. This is like kind of crazy, but I'm glad they did it. Compensation. The families of those wrongly accused were compensated for their losses. Now, it could be money, it could be land, who knows? But finally, Massachusetts is opening up their eyes. But can you blame Massachusetts, the state? Can you do that? Or just Salem with the Puritans that were hanging out there causing all this misery shit? You know what I mean? Yeah. What do we got here? And legislative reforms. It contributed the right to legal representation. Because if you all remember, if you know a little bit about the trials, they had no lawyers. They had no lawyers. And no one there to defend them. They could not defend themselves. They were automatically found guilty when they actually walked into that court. Now, the social and the emotional impacts of the trials, okay? Trauma and disruption. And migration and name changes. Did you know, okay, that after the trials, a lot of people moved away from Salem? They moved. They moved to another city. Do you blame them? They probably moved to other states. I would do it. I wouldn't move if all that shit happened, not knowing if I'm going to wake up and someone knocking at my door saying I'm a witch and they're going to put me on trial, And they also changed their surnames. They changed their names. I'm proud of my name. But you know what? If it came down to life or death for me, I would definitely change it. But that sucks that you had to move from the city where you were at for the longest time. You got to move to get out of there. Then you had to change your names. That's a bunch of bullshit, man. But it happened. Heidi says I would have moved as soon as people started drama. I think a lot of people would. Or they were afraid to move. Think about this, ladies and gentlemen. Think about this. Even though they do move, maybe the Puritans or whoever was going around busting these people and they saw that you moved, probably would go after you because you're moving because you're a witch. Though, in their minds, in their eyes, yes. They probably thought, they were witches, and they would probably go after them and bring them back. Who knows? Like I said, I would like to get into a time machine and go back there and just check it out. Let's see what else we got here. Healing efforts. Okay, this was the social and emotional impact. We didn't think about that, but yes, in those times, true, Heidi. Sherry says my thoughts too. Some thought to rebuild. Oh, check this crap out, man. This is crazy. Some sought to rebuild the community. through marriages between the accused and the accusers. Is that crazy? So my people just accused you of witchcraft and you hung them. Now you want me, hey Scotsman, good to see you. My condolences, brother. My condolences. Um, but in marriage, it's insane. But they tried everything they could to bring back the community. Hey Bob Pasco, good to see you, brother. But it was good to see that they were actually trying to do something in order to get back the community that they once were. Now, I do not know what their thought was back then. What are your thoughts out there, Heidi? Everybody out there, would you remarry? Would you marry a person who accused you of being a witchcraft? Not accuse them. Kason, good to see you. You're pre-eye asleep. Okay. But just to actually really to rebuild the community, would you do it? That girl says, I've been trying to move since 2008, even more raging efforts since 2020. 2025, I'm still stuck. And Heidi says, hell no, I would not. But you know what? They at least gave it a shot. They gave it a shot. And the fourth one, okay, for emotional, social and emotional impact was they built memorials for them in that town. I do believe, yeah, the first memorial was erected in 1992. And they have another one there that was erected in 2017. Well, at least those memorials are actually given, a name for the people that went through this hell, went through it. Now, the people who judged the Puritans, you know what? I haven't read anything up on them. In fact, to be honest with you, I don't want to read anything up about them. Maybe they're a good religion. I don't know. But right now, at this very moment, after doing these last two shows, I don't want to know. But I can't judge their religion. I'm not allowed to judge. There's only one person who can judge you, and he's upstairs looking down on us. He's the only one that can do that. So there. That's the way I look at it. Now, the legacies and lessons of these witch trials. Okay. Cautionary tale. The trial served as a powerful reminder of the dangers of mass hysteria, prejudice, and the abuse of authority. Right on. Sherry says, not a chance I'd marry. What if they change their minds and later accuse me of something else? That's true, dear. That's very true, Sherry. But again, like I said, I guess they were going out for, grasping at the last straw, trying to figure out how to build their community. I wonder if anybody did marry the accused and accusers' families ever married. And the importance of due process. We need that. The trials highlighted the need for fair procedures and protections against false accusations. And due process is what we have today for everybody. I'm going to read that again, okay? The trials highlighted the need for fair procedures and protection against false accusations. So just the year 1692 to 1693, they learned, there was so much that the state of Massachusetts and even the United States learned from it. And then they started coming up with the legal bit, you know? Like everybody has the right to have somebody represent them. You know, everybody gets due process. The evidence that they use, I think it was called spectral sights. I'm not sure. But at that time, okay, if you had a vision or you dreamed of something that didn't suit well with the Puritans, then you were convicted. But in today's world, in today's legal system, you cannot use that anymore. That was thrown out the door. They squashed that. But a lot of them were convicted on that spectral evidence or whatever you want to call it. I don't remember it, but and then the judges. And here's the crazy part. Okay, here's the crazy part. The judges and the jurors and the accusers publicly apologized after the trial. How and but there was no comfort to the affected families. Were these people trying to save face? Did they actually feel guilty that they actually convicted these people? Personally, I don't think so. I think they just came out to save face. It was very, very wrong. And can you imagine the guilt trip if you did have some empathy for people? The guilt trip that you did to these people, to these families? That probably. Okay, Vet Girl got everyone's coffees and teas. That's cool. Thank you, dear. Craziness. I know I couldn't deal with it. But like I said, after a while, there was a lot of things that Massachusetts did, okay, to make their state a lot better. And I think it's like really pretty cool that they compensated the families for all the families of the ones that were convicted. So what's the lesson that we learned out of this, everybody? What's the lesson? The lesson to me, what I learned was, do not judge anybody. Do not tell a lie about someone to another. To have representation. That's the moral of my story that I got out of this, and how ignorant people were back then. I hope to God that I don't meet nobody as ignorant as they were back then. I hope to God not, because it is crazy. I mean, there are some bad people out here in the world today. But I tell you what, I don't think they would go that low just to prove or just to find out or blame somebody for something that they didn't do. Heidi says, yay, I appreciate you, Vet Girl. Thank you. And Heidi says, mind your own. True. Do not judge. Yes, do not judge. And CL says, they thought they were doing a good thing, though. But I can't buy that, CL. Maybe they thought they were. To me, if they would have people representing the people that were on trial, then I can actually say, okay, they at least gave it a shot. But when you go, Z says, back from the parallel chat. Thanks, B. But but they weren't. They were just yanked. They were told they were what they were this and they did that, and they didn't give them a fair trial. Heidi says they need to reevaluate the complete thought process. True, and that's what they should have done. I hope and pray that this does not happen again. I really don't, because it's just disgusting. About the two little girls, I tried to find out. Let me see. Did you know the only reason it ended was because the governor's wife was accused? I didn't know that, hon. I did not know that. That's crazy. Do you think it would have continued if she wasn't? I don't know. We can talk about that next Sunday if you wish. But I did not know that. I'm glad you're in here tonight, CL. I really am. I mean, CL knows her stuff. And this all started, these last two shows all started because my brother gave me a book about the whole deal of the Salem witch trials. And it's a 1,000-page book. And it's huge. And they speak, the words are, I don't understand what they're trying to say. And that's how I started this. Kurt says every single individual should have stepped back and thought about what they were doing or about to do, and maybe enough went on strike or refused, maybe nothing would have happened and washed out. That sounds like a great idea, Kurt, but back then, the Puritans ruled, you know, and they were hardcore Protestants, you know. Now, I'm sure I'll find it in my heart to forgive the Puritans, and I will for doing it. I'm not talking about the Puritans today. I respect their religion, but back then, I'm sorry, but I can't. I can't for what they did. I just can't do it. Maybe one day I will. It might sound a little ignorant of me. It might sound that I'm being nasty or something like that, saying that, but I'm not. I'm not. And for everybody out there who is a family member who who was part of the people who got, hung or convicted, my prayers are with you. And I know there's a lot of generations out there, and if you're listening to my show tonight, you're in my prayers. But before I go, I got a couple minutes left, maybe a minute or two, right? So on the back, on my last page of my notes, I got the names of the 20 people who were murdered at Salem. And I'm going to announce every single one of their names. And if you can, before you go to bed tonight, say a prayer for them. But I need to tell their names. Bridget Bishop, Rebecca Nurse, Sarah Good, Elizabeth Howe, Susanna Martin, Sarah Wiles, George Burroughs, George Jacobs Sr., Martha Carrier, John Proctor, John Willard, Giles Corey. He was the dude that got, he was pressed to death with the stones. Martha Corey, Mary Eastie, Mary Parker, Alice Parker. This one's a little hard. Anne Puditor. Okay, sorry about that. Wilmot Red, Margaret Scott, and Samuel Wardwell. Those were the names who were convicted and died. So if we can actually say a prayer or say something tonight, before you go to bed or something, Just remember those names. And on that note, thank you everybody for coming into the show tonight. Thank you, Kevin. Appreciate it. Thank you for all the people who participated in the chats. I want to thank Beck Girl for making the coffees and teas. You're welcome, Michelle. And I also want to give a shout out to Heidi for all the people, all the hosts on UPRN Talk Radio. She helps us out with our shows, getting our shows out. And it means a lot to us. It really does. You know, she does mean a lot because she helps out a lot of the people out there. She's a good girl. You know, and I'm proud to have her as my bestest friend in the world. I am. Yes, she is, Jessica. She is the best. You're welcome, Sherry. Children, if you can, please go to your parents and give them a hug and tell them that you love them. And parents, please go to your children, give them a hug, and tell them that you love them. And if you have no parents, if you have no children, find somebody, give them a hug, and tell them that you love them. Because those 3 words, I love you, go a long way. And on that note, good night, everybody. Happy Tuesday. See you Sunday.